Continuing this project, and since I have quilted the very first row of this, and I can quilt 2 rows, it makes sense to me that I should quilt from left to right and then from right to left. Now, I didn't set it up this way in the very beginning. However, I've quilted the first row, and then I cut the thread and I clicked OK, and the machine wanted to go all the way back down to the left to start again. But I don't want it to do that. I want it to start right here on the right side. So I have the ability, I'll just select this first repeat in this row and go over here to this little icon. It says Order Join. Click on that, and it's going to change the sewing order of this row so that it will start on the right and stitch to the left. So this tells me that it has completed this operation, and I'll just click off to the side here. You can see now it's going to start here and stitch right to left, back all the way to the left end of this. And if I wanted you to see, which I do, I can select all of the remaining repeats in the project and toggle them as sewn. Now you can see clearly that the start is here and the next is this next repeat, and it ends over on the left side. I will just go ahead and quilt this. Okay, I have finished quilting row 1 and row 2, and now I'm going to roll the quilt and quilt the next 2 rows. I don't normally toggle all of this unsewn area of the pattern as sewn, and the reason why I don't is because, okay, I've quilted 2 rows, now I need to quilt 2 more rows, but see, everything is shown as quilted, so I'm going to select everything that has not been stitched and toggle it back as unsewn. So as soon as it's finished, here it is, I'll toggle this as unsewn. So now I have row 1 and 2 shown as sewn. There's row 1, and here is row 2 right there. So what I'll do on this, I need to just get rid of this boundary, and I'm going to roll the quilt and set it up for the next quilting area. I have rolled the quilt, and the needle is actually sitting at the start point of the, or actually it's at the end point of the first repeat in the second row, because remember, I changed the sewing order to stitch from right to left. I will simply pick a point somewhere, anywhere, right click, relocate, shift all to one point. I have my end snap on, see? And then it's going to make sure it snaps to the correct point. It has snapped to this point in the first repeat of the second row. Click yes. Now I have relocated the entire pattern field around that point. I will simply make a new boundary and adjust the pattern to stitch. I'm going to make it stitch right to left, or correction, left to right, and then right to left. Okay, everything has been adjusted the way I want it to. My new boundary has been drawn. I have the repeat in the second row that'll be quilted, I have the first the repeat on the right side selected, and I'm going to do an order join, and I can use the order join icon here, or I can simply right click and select order join in the drop down. It will work on that. Now this seems a little backwards. I'm starting with the second row that I'm going to quilt and do the order join, but that's the way you have to do that. Then this tells me that that has been accomplished. So I need to now just escape out of that, press the escape key, select the first repeat on the left of the first row that I want to stitch. This is row 3, and I'll right click, and again I'll go down and select order join and let it work on that. So it's completed that operation. And if we look at the order that's going to stitch, it's going to stitch starting here on the left at this third row. Then it will tie off, and I will cut the threads, click OK, and it'll come down, and it will start on the right side with the first repeat in the fourth row. If I want to see what the order is, I can just simply click on the order join or the set sew order icon up here, and it will show me this. See, it says that it's going to start right. It's going to start up here on the left with 0 on the row 3 and go to 9, and then it'll start with 10 on the fourth row and so back to the left. So that is how you can change your sewing order without having to click on each number to change that. After using the icon to set my sewing order so that it started at the top left on row 4 and then sewed to the right, and then started on the right side of that's row 3, and then row 4 it starts on the right side and sews back to the left. If I want to check the sewing order, I can simply click on the set sew order icon, and I can see that it's going to start with 0 on the first repeat on row 3 on the left side and sew to the right through 9. Then it will tie off. I'll cut the threads, click OK, and it'll go down to the first repeat on the right side of row 4 with number 10 and sew back to the left to the end of row 4. And you can see that all of the sewing order has been changed in this order. Here's 19, and then it's 20 is up here through 29 and 30 through 39. So it's changing this as I use the order join feature. I'll click on the set sew order icon. That accepts everything. Now that's the way that it will stitch. I'll save this in case something goes wrong and stitch these next 2 rows. Okay, you can see the machine has finished row 3 and it is sitting all the way down to the right end of this row. It says cut the bobbin thread and click OK. I will do that. I'll just cut this thread And when I click OK, it's going to move to the start point of the 4th row, and it's going to do that on the right side of the quilt. So there it is, it's moving, it's taken the stitch, and I'll just click OK and let it tie off and start quilting back to the left. So, you know, this is an idea to make your quilting a little quicker. If you can quilt multiple rows, there's no reason to take the machine all the way to the left and quilt left to right, left to right. So the idea is to make the quilting as efficient as possible, and the idea is to make your money return a little quicker. Okay, I have 3 rows left to quilt on this quilt, but I'm only going to quilt 1 row, and then I will roll the quilt and quilt the last 2. The reason I want to do that is because I can quilt the 2 rows, so I'll quilt this row here, and then roll the quilt, and I'll quilt these last 2 rows, and I'll be able to adjust the 2 rows to fit within the boundary, and down at this lower edge I'll have very little adjustment to make. Okay, here we are at the end of the quilt, the last 2 rows. I'm going to adjust it to fit, and try to get the sides where they work, and we'll adjust this bottom just a little bit right there. I need to adjust this bottom row a little by itself a little bit more. Okay, I think that'll all work. Now I want these 2 to be pulled out. Get my nodes, pull this node out, reshape it a little bit, do the same with this one. I'm going to select this one and get my side anchors, pull this out like that. Now I'll get my node, pull this point here out like that, and then just reshape. That looks good. So I'll quilt this last row and be finished with this quilt.